Hi, everyone. I'm Tanya Rivero. There are new questions tonight after two of Rudy Giuliani's associates were arrested as they were trying to flee the country. They were helping President Trump's personal attorney investigate former Vice President Joe Biden. And today, President Trump said, quote, he doesn't know about the men, and deflected questions back to Giuliani.
I don't know if there's anybody I don't have pictures of. I don't know them. I don't know about them. I don't know what they do. But I don't know. Maybe they were clients of Rudy. You'd have to ask Rudy. I just don't know.
Federal prosecutors charged the men with campaign finance violations. They are both believed to be Soviet-born. Here they are in a photo posted on one of their Facebook pages this past May. They are seen next to the president's son, Don Jr., and Tommy Hicks, who was the head of a pro-Trump super PAC they donated to. Federal election laws prohibit foreign nationals from contributing to American elections. In announcing the campaign finance charges, federal officials said Giuliani's associates sought to advance the political interests of a Ukrainian government official by lobbying a congressman to remove a former U.S. ambassador to Ukraine. That same former ambassador is set to testify on Capitol Hill Friday as part of the Democrats' impeachment probe. And House Democrats are not stopping there. They have issued another subpoena in their impeachment inquiry, this time for Secretary of Energy Rick Perry. The subpoena comes after Perry confirmed last week he was the one who had asked Mr. Trump to speak with the president of Ukraine. However, Perry said he wanted the two men to discuss energy issues, not investigating Joe Biden. Let's bring in CBS News chief congressional correspondent Nancy Cordes on Capitol Hill, Wall Street Journal reporter Sadie Gurman, and Washington Post White House correspondent Anne Gearan. Thanks to all of you for being with us. Before we get to the arrests of the Giuliani associates, I want to ask about this new subpoena for Rick Perry, Nancy. We heard the president say he doesn't know why Democrats want to talk to Perry. So why do they?
For a few reasons, Tanya. His name keeps popping up in this impeachment inquiry for a variety of reasons. First of all, the president has reportedly said privately that he didn't even want to call the president of Ukraine, that now infamous call where the president urged the new president of Ukraine to investigate Joe Biden. But he was urged to make that call by Rick Perry, the Secretary of Energy. Beyond that, Perry is the one who was sent to Zelensky's inauguration after the president reportedly told the vice president not to go. And then finally, and most intriguingly, there's been all this reporting about whether Perry urged Ukrainian officials to fire the entire advisory board of a major Ukrainian energy company and possibly replace them with individuals who were known associates of or supporters of President Trump's. So for all those reasons and more, Democrats sent out this subpoena to Perry today, which I've just been reading through. They want an enormous number of documents from Perry, who has already signaled that he is going to leave the administration, possibly because all of this, he can see coming down the pipe.
All right. Now, Sadie, I want to turn to you because you broke the Wall Street Journal story on the arrests of the Giuliani associates. I also want to point out that CBS News is confirming a WSJ report that lawyers for the whistleblower have requested written questions for their client to answer from the intelligence committees. So, Sadie, first off, explain why the timing of these arrests is so significant and why this development from the whistleblower's attorney is also significant.
Well, it's significant for a number of reasons. In particular, it puts a lot of new pressure and new scrutiny on Rudy Giuliani and what he knew or didn't know about the schemes that his associates were apparently involved in. It's also another example, another spotlight on foreign money and whether any of it ended up in Trump's campaign or in his super PAC. And once again, you have federal prosecutors examining something that is also being looked at by Congress, and that raises questions about how the impeachment inquiry will be impacted.
And in terms of the whistleblower who is now, going to be answering written questions, what can we make of that?
Well, it's hard to say exactly what that means, but it shows a willingness of these whistleblowers to answer questions and to provide information to the extent that they have it. So I think it's hard to read anything firm into that reporting, but it is certainly an interesting development.
So, Anne, going back to these associates of Rudy Giuliani, how concerned is the White House that these men could potentially flip on Giuliani?
Well, for sure that, these guys are, kind of minor players in this drama, but the fact that they are close to Giuliani and had met with him just earlier that same day, it is concerning to the president and his legal team. I heard nothing from the president just now to suggest that he has, he's changed his mind about his approach to any of this or his closeness to Rudy Giuliani. But certainly the fact that there's a photograph of them all sitting together just hours earlier is certainly got to be concerning to Giuliani.
Right. And Nancy, we know that House Democrats had some interest in hearing from these men even before the arrests. What answers might they have to questions posed by these House Democrats?
Right. I mean, talk about timing. Democrats had asked them to come in for depositions today and tomorrow. And they were basically stiff-armed by these men's lawyers who said that they were not going to do interviews. They were not going to hand over documents because they agreed with the letter that came from the White House this week, basically saying that this inquiry was a fraud and that no one should cooperate. Keep in mind, these are not individuals who have ever worked at the White House. They are not covered by executive privilege. It's not clear why their lawyers would think that that would be a successful legal argument. But nevertheless, they have now been subpoenaed to hand over documents. And Democrats say they're going to be looking to talk to them in the future for slightly different reasons than the reasons for which they were arrested. The reason that Democrats on the House Intelligence Committee want to talk to them is because Rudy Giuliani has made no secret of the fact that they were sort of fixers for him in Ukraine, opening doors for him, lining up people for him to talk to in Ukraine about the fact that the president really wanted Joe Biden's son and the company that he served on the board for, Burisma, investigated. And so, they had multiple ties to Rudy Giuliani, big supporters of the president. We now know that they were potentially, allegedly funneling these donations from foreign individuals to the president. So a sort of tangled web there that Democrats wanted to learn more about. And at this point, we don't know if these individuals are any more likely to comply with Congress now that they have been arrested.
And Sadie, you report that the men were lobbying to remove the U.S. ambassador in Ukraine. That same ambassador was, in fact, removed from her post in May by President Trump. And she is scheduled to appear on Capitol Hill tomorrow as part of the Democrats' ongoing impeachment probe. Explain why these two men were looking to remove her from her post.
Well, these two men were looking to remove her. They wanted to remove her from her post because she had been reluctant to pursue an investigation of Hunter Biden, which is what is at the center of this impeachment inquiry. And yes, she is expected, she's supposed to testify tomorrow, but the State Department has made it clear that they will not allow any of their employees to testify or to participate in this inquiry. So this could actually just escalate tensions between the State Department and Congress.
And Nancy, considering these latest revelations, just how important is the former ambassador's testimony for Democrats tomorrow, and what do they hope to learn from it?
It's very important because what they're trying to establish is that individuals within the U.S. government were punished or penalized if they refused to help Rudy Giuliani carry out the president's pet political project, his desire to drum up an investigation of a campaign rival. So Democrats very much want to talk to her. She has kept an incredibly low profile. She has left her post. She was brought back a couple of months early from Ukraine, and she has been doing a fellowship at Georgetown University, but she is still employed by the State Department, and that could, that could prevent her from appearing for this deposition, which sources close to her have informed us that she does want to attend. And so everyone here on Capitol Hill is kind of waiting and watching to see what will happen. Aides tell us they still expect that she is going to testify in the morning, But as of right now, just as it was with Gordon Sondland the other day, it's kind of a mystery whether she actually is allowed to show up at the end of the day.
Very interesting. And just to follow up on what Nancy was just saying, we have, of course, seen the White House block witnesses, Sondland most recently, from testifying in this impeachment inquiry before. So just how likely do you think it is that the former ambassador will be able to actually testify?
Well, I mean, I agree with Nancy that the stage is set for the either the White House or probably more likely the State Department to be the one to announce it, to say that she will not be able to appear. But the fact that she has let it be known that she's willing to, that is actually the same thing that Sondland did. He said he was willing and even eager to go in and tell his story because he says he has nothing to hide. The presumption is that Masha Yovanovitch's story would be different, and that she would, for the first time, actually explain what she was told she was being yanked back early for, what she had done as ambassador, what her interactions with Giuliani and those that he was working with inside Ukraine were like, and her own view of the Burisma matter, which obviously differs from the story that Giuliani and the president have presented of it. She's a career diplomat, career Foreign Service officer, very senior. She has, as Nancy said, remained in the Foreign Service. That means she is a protected federal employee. So one potential thing that could happen here is that there could be a union action or something else in which she says she wants to go ahead and make this statement, irrespective of the fact that her boss, the Secretary of State, would tell her not to. I don't know that that'll happen, but it is one possibility.
And so, Nancy, what comes next for Democrats here? They have said that they have enough material to go forward with impeachment proceedings. Let's say that everyone they want to talk to simply cannot come in and they continue to be stonewalled. Will they wait for all of this to go through the legal channels, or will they say, well, you know what, we have enough already?
They will not wait because waiting for everything to go through the legal channels could take years, and they don't have years in their view. In their view, they have got to move things along and just work with what they've got. Not necessarily tomorrow, but I suspect that in the next, let's say, month to month and a half, they will basically gather together all the evidence they've been able to gather, and then, decide whether there is enough there to start to put together articles of impeachment that they could then send along to the House Judiciary Committee for consideration. And there's a sense among Democrats when you talk to them, Tanya, that yes, there might be more details that they learn after the fact in the months, perhaps years to come, but that you can't just sort of keep the country on edge like this forever, and you can't tangle up the gears of Congress forever either, because it's hard for anybody to think about anything else. So, if they feel like they've got a case to make that the president did pressure a foreign government or ask a foreign government's assistance in election tampering and bringing up dirt about a rival, then they're going to go forward with it, and they can continue the investigation after that. But they don't want this dragging on into 2020.
And so, Nancy, if the whistleblower doesn't testify in person and answers written questions instead, should we expect congressional Republicans to cry foul?
I'm sure that they will, and they'll say, "See, this is just another example of the fact that this whistleblower, isn't willing to undergo scrutiny, doesn't want to be challenged by congressional Republicans, has an axe to grind, et cetera." And we don't know at this point whether the committees will accept the whistleblower's request to answer the questions in written form. This may just be one of many ideas that's being batted around right now. At the end of the day, I think Democrats and Republicans would prefer to hear from this whistleblower either in person or via some kind of video communications if they want to have this person in a remote location and obscure his or her face or voice, because Democrats are very concerned about the whistleblower's identity getting out. But I do think that written questions and answers would be less satisfying to both Democrats and Republicans, and it's probably viewed as a last resort.
Right. All right. Well, Nancy Cortez, Sadie Gurman, Anne Gearan, thanks to all of you for joining us.